A trader who has never seen a 6 standard deviation move to the downside, leading to a huge loss on just one individual cash secured put trade, well, that person might consciously know it could happen, but doesn't really believe it could happen. Even if somebody explains it to them, they can't really comprehend it. The investor who had a stock fall below the strike on her last 5 cash secured put trades might have this feeling of fear or unease anchored to the experience of getting ready to sell another cash secured put on your trading platform. She might have the limiting belief that selling puts can't work or they always lose.
Hello, Wealth Builders. You're listening to Wealth Building with Options. Here's your host, Dan Passarelli.
Hey, Wealth Building family. Welcome to episode 35. But before we jump in today, let's talk about how you can get the most out of the Wealth Building with Options community. Help grow the Wealth Building with Options community by subscribing to it in your favorite podcast app. And if you're already a listener, you can support the show with a paid subscription. When you do, you'll get video extra podcast episodes so you can get hands-on video training on things we talk about in the podcast. You'll get subscriber-only posts where I drill down on a stock, event, or trading opportunity and share trade ideas. You'll get all my covered call and cash secured put trades, even the management that I'm making in my real brokerage account. You'll get access to our monthly online Ask Me Anything webinar. And you'll get our unusual options activity alerts on options income trades and much, much more. And the best part is your paid subscription helps keep this show on the air. So please consider being a paid subscriber by going to wealthbuildingpodcast.com and just choose your subscription level. The funny thing about being me, about doing what I do, and always thinking about, talking about, writing about, podcasting about, trading, is that, well, everybody I come in contact with wants to talk to me about trading, which is actually kind of fine. Like a lot of people who have certain types of jobs, like they just want to leave it at work. They don't want to think about it. Like you have a friend who's a doctor, and if you go up to him and say, hey, Joe, I got this bunion on my foot. You want to take a look at it? It's like, no, we're out at a steakhouse. Leave me alone, right? But I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. I actually don't mind just talking about markets all the time. That's what I do. That's what I think about. So a good friend of mine recently got more into trading. He kind of like retired and has more time on his hands, has some money, and got more into trading. And we were standing around chatting at a social gathering, a party or something. And he asked me, Dan, do you think that you can just feel the market? Like, what it's going to do? Like you can just feel that it's going to go up today for a particular stock? And I was like, no, I don't know, not at all. I can't feel that. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I wish I did. If you figure out a way to know what's going to happen, like by the end of the day or something, or by tomorrow with the stock, please call me. Like, let me know. I want to know. So yeah, no, I don't think that I can know what's going to happen next. I don't. But I do feel like I can feel some things within the market. Now, again, this is not like I can't see the future. I can't. I wish I could, but I can't. But I want to share a story where I kind of did feel something. This was back in 2021. Now, the thing to know about me is I always am sitting in this chair right here, always looking at that computer screen right in front of me. I got my laptop, I got the screen where my trading platform is, I got random stuff over here, I got my Slack and stuff over here. Three external screens in addition to my screen. Then I've got another computer with an external screen set up over here for certain things. I'm always in front of my computer and I'm always looking at the market. I trade at least a couple hours every day. And in the spirit of wheel traders, trading sometimes means I spend 2 hours looking at the market, thinking about stuff, and not making a trade. That counts as trading too. As they say, sometimes the best trades you make are the ones you never make. So, anyway, this was, I don't know, like March, April of 2021 or something. I actually had to kind of look up a couple of things to refresh my memory a little bit here. But I was looking at how some of the stocks that I look at every day were trading. And I noticed, maybe I felt that some of the stocks were just doing different things and didn't really seem to make sense, or it just seemed that something was off. This one was doing this, but this one was doing that. And typically they do the same thing. And it really was a little bit more of a feeling than a logical black and white left brain deduction. And it was certain stocks. It turned out that a couple of days later, a guy named Sung Kook Hwang, who is a South Korean born American investor, trader, and at that point, arrested, future to be convicted fraudster. He was running a company called Archegos Capital Management, and they defaulted, and apparently he was doing some bad things. I don't think I have to say allegedly because it says he was convicted of fraud. And there were certain stocks that he was trading, and apparently from what the Wikipedia article says, which we all know is 100% true, is that he was trading on some inside information and he was taking these very leveraged bets. And I don't know. All I know is that I could just feel that there was something weird going on in the market at that time. Now, I don't chalk this up to like a third eye or ESP or psychic or whatever you want to call it. That's not what I'm talking about. That stuff, it may actually exist for all I know, but that is not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about sort of, I guess I've sort of learned over time, is this intersection of thinking and feeling. And that is related to sort of how you're wired and a lot of other things that come into play that we're going to talk about on today's show and the next show and the next show. And who knows, maybe even the show after that. So let's get into it. So what I'm talking about is how you're wired. Now, what exactly do I mean by wired? Well, I mean, you could say it's an analogy, but to me, it feels much more literal. The human body has billions of nerve cells that are called neurons that literally send electric impulses from one area of the body to another through the wire part of the nerve cell that is called the axon. So it really is like your body is wired. I mean, I would go as far as saying your body is wired. It's just not copper or fiber optics or whatever else they make wires out of. It's biological material, but they are, in some cases, long, stringy things that electricity goes through. These electrical impulses flow through these axons, which end at what is called the synapse or synapses. In most of the synapses that you have in your body, the electrical signal that they receive cause them to release chemical messengers called neurotransmitters. These neurotransmitters, they cause things to happen. They can trigger a response. Maybe one axon has this electricity that goes down it, that gets to the synapse, that releases a chemical messenger, a neurotransmitter, that causes your finger muscle to move, to click the button on your trading platform. Or the electrons shoot down the axon to the synapse, releases a neurotransmitter that activates a gland to release cortisol because you're kind of stressed out. It's kind of really interesting and fascinating how this all works. Now, I should probably take a minute here and point out that I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I don't play one on TV or on podcasts. I'm not pretending to be one, but I read a lot. And I'm interested in this kind of stuff. I think next week I'll talk about how and why I got so interested in this. Not next week, the week after. And so I've learned a lot about this over time. All right. So your brain has by far the greatest number of neurons, but most of them are in the cerebellum, which is kind of in the back part of your head. It's what some people call the lizard brain. It's the most basic part of your brain that evolved, I guess, from lizards, right? Because if you believe in evolution, which I think these days most people believe in, we started as fishes and then turned into lizards and then mammals and then humans, right? Well, humans are mammals, but so the brain kind of started back there with lizards and such, and then slowly built more in the front of it, right? So your cerebellum is kind of the lizard brain. It controls like motor functions and survival behavior. It does not control logic. You ever see those videos where like there's a lizard, some sort of gecko or something, and somebody's playing music in the background, and like it's like the lizard is pulsing to the drum beat? You ever see that? Like, I think it's a real thing. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Lizard brain. Now, after the brain, the second biggest concentration of neurons is where? Who can guess? Can anybody take a guess? Oh, I wish this was a live show and we could have a contest, but it's not. I pre-record these things. Okay, so the second biggest concentration of neurons is in, drum roll please, your gut. Yeah, isn't that weird? Your gut, like abdomen, this part, oh, it like really kind of makes a lot of noise when I slap mine because it's been getting bigger lately. There are people in neuro-related fields that refer to your gut as your second brain. I remember when I first learned this, I thought it was kind of weird, but the more you think about it, the more it kind of does make sense, right? You ever hear someone talk about gut instinct? Well, that's what they mean. Remember when you were younger, or maybe this still happens to you. I'm married, so I've been with the same person for a long, long time. I don't like meet new love interests or anything, but that butterfly feeling when there's that person that you meet that you just have these feelings for or whatever, right? It's your gut. It's the nerves, axons, the neurons that are down there. So a lot of your thinking, and that word's going to kind of start taking on a little bit of a different meaning from this point on. A lot of your thinking isn't logical at all. Depends on how you describe it, I guess, right? If the output of your brain is thinking, definitely most of it is not logical. That's only a small part of your brain that does the logical stuff. Some of your thinking is actually feeling. Now, those of you who have followed me for a long time, you've probably heard some of these stories. I'm sure they'll come up on the podcast again in the future. But John, who's on the show all the time, John Kmisik and I, we spent a lot of time in China when they were putting together their option trading program, making capitalists out of communists is the way I used to look at it. But we haven't been there in a long, long time. But I picked up a little bit of Mandarin back in the day. I forgot most of it, but I kind of remembered this one when I was writing this section in my book, and I'm remembering it now. In Mandarin, the word for think and for feel is actually the same word, jueda. Isn't that interesting? No, I know, like there's synonyms and stuff like that. Like there's other words for thinking and other words for feeling, just like in any other language, right? But the word jueda is a word that means basically think and feel. And so therein kind of lies a problem. Trading is an endeavor into statistics. And humans are not wired to feel statistics. I was playing blackjack with a friend of mine, and on a lot of the hands, she'd ask me, "Oh, hey, what does the book say to do?" And so one thing that I told her, like, I was trying to teach her a couple of the rules, so that she'd remember them, so that when she's on her own next time, she'd know them. So I told her that the book, which is also known as Basic Strategy, says that you should always split aces and eights. All right. Hey, there's one thing you can take from the show here today. Aces and eights. They both start with A sound, right? Always split aces and eights. But of course, after you tell somebody that they should always split eights, always, no matter what, you know what always ends up happening, right? Well, yeah, they end up getting dealt something like a 5 on one of the eights and then like a 6 on the other eight. And they've got these crappy hands that like you have to hit, but you're probably going to bust. And then when it plays out that way, your friend, who is hopefully still your friend after this, can't help but think or maybe feel that that's not the right decision. Look, you told me I'm supposed to split these, and now I just lost double. I lost on both hands. Right? Now, statistically, in blackjack, players fare better in the long run by always splitting eights. That's what the math behind Basic Strategy says is optimal. And they do that by running computer simulations over and over and over and over and over again, like 4 million hands. And they prove it to be true. And sometimes they do math and all that business. But following what the numbers say to do and then losing makes the statistical truth pretty hard to rectify with the immediate reality. It makes you want to not believe it. Why are we like this? Well, evolution. After 300,000 years of Homo sapiens evolving, wouldn't you think that we'd have evolved a little farther so that, like, making optimally logical decisions are just second nature and we understand statistics and this stuff doesn't get in our heads and bother us? Wouldn't you think? Well, what it all comes down to is bandwidth. Bandwidth. So, bandwidth, like if you ever worked at a corporation in corporate America, you'll hear people say bandwidth. Oh, I don't have the bandwidth to do that project. I need more resources. What is bandwidth in corporate speak? Well, bandwidth is how much you can do with the resources you have. Okay, Dan, how does that fit into what we're talking about? It does. Your conscious mind, like that is the mind that, like, when you realize you're thinking, that mind. The things that, like, are in your brain that you know are there, that you're conscious of. Your conscious mind needs to do the thinking for logical decision making, right? Obviously, which you need for things like trading. Actually, you need for like a lot of things in life. But there are literally millions of bits of information coming at you right now and are already within you that need processing every second. Now, some of the stuff we're going to talk about in the rest of today's episode is how I evolved to think about this. But it just so happens that after I wrote this chapter, I was talking about this with a friend of mine who is a doctor of psychology, I guess, a PSYD. And because I'm not a doctor and not a medical professional, I always like to make sure that what I'm saying to you is right so that you have the best and most accurate information. So I asked my friend, hey, would you mind like reading over the chapter and just kind of fact checking me a little bit? That's what they call proofing in the book writing business. Not to be confused with copy editing, which is like fix your capitalization and your punctuation and stuff. So my friend, Dr. Sarna, did me a favor and proofed this. And she was looking at basically what we just talked about right here. And she's like, oh, yeah, well, that happens in the thalamus. And I was like, oh, well, geez, I didn't know that part. I just kind of knew how it worked. I didn't know like exactly where everything happens or anything. And so I want to read to you a quote that she gave me that I actually put right into the chapter here. So Dr. Sarna said, the thalamus acts as a relay station for sensory information. It filters and prioritizes sensory input before sending it to the cortex, especially perception, attention, and consciousness. This includes filtering out the less relevant stimuli like background noise, so your brain can focus just on what's important. If it's not critical to your function or protective to your well-being, the neural pathways do not fire. By filtering sensory information, the thalamus helps prevent sensory overload, which is very protective of mental well-being and focus. What does all that mean? Well, let me just show you by example. Whatever you're doing right now, let your brain escape a little bit in the exact thing that you're doing, which is listening to me. And maybe you're driving or maybe you're running. If you're driving, don't get too distracted, please. But allow your mind to just defocus a little bit from things that are not 100% necessary to focus on. And you might notice that one of the lights in the room is making a noise that you didn't hear until I just said that. Well, the thalamus was filtering that out. Maybe there's a breeze from a vent on your leg that you didn't really notice. That's the thalamus at work too. I just realized as I was saying this that it's actually kind of hot in here. I wasn't really hot until I started thinking about the temperature of my skin and if there was a breeze on it. There's not a breeze on it, but I realized that I'm kind of sweating just a little bit. There's a whole bunch of things that your body and your mind knows is happening, but your conscious mind is not able to be bothered with it right now because it's not essential. The mind and the body, I mean, first of all, they're a lot more one than you would think, and it's very complex. Other areas of your brain, besides your thalamus, they also run a lot of processes in the background as well. The reminder to keep your heart beating, to keep breathing, to blink when you have to. If you're tired, if you're antsy, if you're hungry, there's literally millions of bits of information that different parts of your brain are processing. Do a web search and you'll find there are a lot of experts who all state this same fact that your subconscious brain is the part that handles this huge barrage of inputs, reminders, and problems to be solved when your conscious mind can't. Though there is some discrepancy about the exact number of data points. Some might say it's hundreds of thousands of bits of information per second. Some say tens of millions. Either way, it's a freaking lot. But most experts will say that your conscious mind can only process around 3 things at one time. Wow. You have like millions of bits of information that need to be and are being processed by your collective brain, but your conscious brain can only handle 3 things. And honestly, I don't believe it's 3 things. I think it's less. I think it's probably 1 or maybe 2. Really. I'm the kind of person who can't put on headphones and listen to music while I'm working because I can only do one of those 2 things. People who can, gosh, man, I'm impressed. And it's also because I'm a music person and my mind starts thinking about the music and I'm analyzing that and I can't work. So your subconscious mind is doing a gazillion things, not a gazillion, but literally millions of things, while your conscious mind has the bandwidth for 2 or 3 things. And so here's how this is handled in conserving these resources. Your brain creates shortcuts, what psychologists, behavioral psychologists will call heuristics, or some disciplines may call them maps. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Either way, it's the same idea, just a different discipline of mind studiers. Your subconscious mind is there to conserve resources and only bring in the big guns, the conscious mind, when it has to, and to help it do what it needs to do in the most efficient way possible. I live in a wooded lot. I can go and sit on my back deck and see nothing but trees. And sometimes I'll go and sit out there at night with Kathleen and maybe you have a glass of wine or something like that. We'll be sitting out there, and sometimes my head turns really, really fast because out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement. Your brain is trained to see that. You basically see nothing in your peripheral vision, but if there's movement, that could be a threat. And so you all of a sudden, boom, your attention's focused to it. That's what I'm talking about here. Now, here's what's interesting. This is why humans have emotions. Kind of making a big statement here, but this is why humans have emotions. All right, Dan, where are you going with this? Are you crazy or what? Emotions exist to make thinking less resource intensive. So think about it like a computer. Like the guys who created computers starting in like the 70s out in the San Francisco Bay Area, they kind of started modeling computers after brains. And so you can kind of think of your brain as a computer because the computer is built after your brain. So when you have an experience of any sort, in the back of your brain, the subconscious part of your brain, it tags that experience with an emotion. And that's your amygdala that does a lot of that, at least some of it. Maybe there's other areas of your brain. I'm not sure. So let's say you have some good experience. Well, your amygdala is going to tag that memory with happy. Think about it like Instagram, right? Like hashtag happy goes on that photo, which might be a movie in your brain. Then, when a similar situation to that occurs in the future, and even if it's just in your periphery and not even your conscious mind at this point, the similarity to that previous situation, even if it's sub-perceptive, you might like smile or just get a good feeling for some reason you can't explain, even before or without ever recognizing exactly why. And same thing. I mean, I come up with a bunch of examples here, but like, you ever go somewhere and just for some reason, you've got this sort of bad feeling? Well, there may have been some element present in that situation that's kind of like has some similarity to something that you experienced before. Like maybe there's the same smell or the same kind of car or somebody who looks the same or something like that from a memory from long, long ago that you don't even consciously remember anymore. But because of that, your subconscious mind, it's previously tagged that mystery sight or sound or smell or whatever it is as hashtag danger, hashtag trouble. And your subconscious mind wants you to know to be alert without having to direct resources, telling the conscious mind to go back through the files to locate the details of that exact occurrence. These things from the past, they relate to what psychologists refer to as our schema. These mental frameworks that help your brain interpret new information based on those past experiences. And they just do it effortlessly and automatically without your conscious mind even being aware of what's going on in the background. Your subconscious mind is working on behalf of what I'll call this organism that you call me, right? Or you, however you want to think about it. Because some of this is within your brain, some of this is just within axons in different parts of your body, in your gut. And there is actually some evidence that some of it is held in your body, not even your brain or your gut or your nervous system. All this stuff, to me, is really important to understand to be excellent at trading the wheel or anything else. When you are trading, you have one enemy. And you know who that enemy is? It's you, it's your brain. You need to understand that enemy. And that's why I've chosen to weave in a lot of this biological and psychological stuff into the book and into the podcast. And I don't know, I find it really interesting. I hope you find it interesting too. But hey, man, even if you don't, you should kind of learn some of this stuff. Now, for those of you who are like kind of geeked out about this stuff and find it really interesting, there's a discipline that really helps explain this, all these things we've been talking about here, and even other ways that your subconscious mind communicates with you. And it's called neuro linguistic programming, NLP. NLP is a way to understand how we perceive reality and how we communicate with others and ourselves, and also how to influence and change one's perception of reality. Now, caveat, there are some who call NLP a pseudoscience. And it is definitely possible that some elements of it are indeed unsubstantiated by the scientific method. But I think the concepts have merit, and they've really helped me understand myself and others, and helped me try and provide a framework for making changes to things that can hold me back. There's a lot of things that the way your brain is wired will hold you back as a trader. So to be able to understand what is actual reality better and to communicate that to yourself better, man, that's very, very valuable. One foundation of NLP is the principle that the map is not the territory. This idea relates to the fact that of these millions of data points being processed in the background of your mind, some of them end up reaching your awareness, but some of them don't. Now, the guy sitting next to you, he might be aware of different things that are going on. He might hear that vent. He might smell that chicken roasting in the background. Now, you didn't. Everyone's reality is different because of the things each of us have experienced or didn't experience. We experience things through, well, in NLP, they'll call them the visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory systems. That's seeing, hearing, feeling, smelling, and tasting. A trader who has never seen a 6 standard deviation move to the downside, leading to a huge loss on just one individual cash secured put trade, well, that person might consciously know it could happen, but doesn't really believe it could happen. Even if somebody explains it to them, they can't really comprehend it. The investor who had a stock fall below the strike on her last 5 cash secured put trades might have this feeling of fear or unease anchored to the experience of getting ready to sell another cash secured put on your trading platform. She might have the limiting belief that selling puts can't work or they always lose. These are the subconscious mind talking to the conscious mind through these shortcuts, because They want to reduce the resources on your conscious mind. Hey, nope, that stuff doesn't work out. Don't do it again. Don't do it. Don't you remember it? No, you don't even have to remember. I got it. Conscious mind, don't worry. Just turn off. Prefrontal cortex, nope, don't do it. Don't remember this feeling from the last couple of times you did it. You don't want that to happen again, do you? Here's the feeling. Just don't do it. And that's really kind of interesting, isn't it? When you get some of these feelings in your trading, it's not like psychic or anything like that. It's your brain using shortcuts to save resources from your conscious mind. And some of them you might want to listen to. Like when that Archegos thing was going on, like I felt something was going on. My conscious mind couldn't connect the dots, but I felt something was going on. But then it works the other way too. Oh, I had 5 losses in a row. Geez, oh gosh, I just feel like I shouldn't try this again. That can hold you back. So all these shortcuts, they can help you, and they do help you, and they can hurt you, and they do hurt you. And that about wraps it up for this show. But before you go, don't miss a single episode. Please make sure that you're subscribed to this show, Wealth Building with Options, on your favorite podcast platform, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever it is. And if you'd be so kind as to leave a comment, I would surely appreciate it. The more comments you leave, well, that lets Apple and Spotify know that you're interested. And it actually ranks us higher and makes Wealth Building with Options more accessible to more people. And together we can help build a team of great investors. Until next time, invest excellently.
Options involve risk and are not suitable for all investors. Before buying or selling an option, read characteristics and risks of standardized options. A link is provided in the show notes. To learn more about your host, Dan Passarelli, please visit markettaker.com.